Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens.
Once again.
It is Dark Side of the Stream, episode 130. Can you believe we've done that 130 times? I'm the only one that keeps track, but the only way I can do that is
we're gonna have to celebrate 200 or whatever.
Oh yeah, we're definitely doing it. We did that for we said we were gonna do that for 100 and we didn't do anything.
We didn't. I thought we did Star Wars.
Yeah, but we didn't we did like a different documentary style kind of thing, but we didn't like do a party or anything.
No, we need to dress up in costumes this time.
I wanted to borrow your Paul Stanley outfit.
Maybe we do it live somewhere.
That's what we talked about. I don't think we did it though. All right, today this was Jay's pick, and it was I did commend him on the fact that this documentary that he picked was extremely short. And it was
free,
very, very short.
Free. These are
free on YouTube.
These are things we look for these days.
And I'll tell you right now, it's a good thing it was free because man,
you have to get past the goldfish. If you look past the goldfish, you'll be okay. So the guy's presentation is a little bit wacky, but the information inside is good.
So we're talking about this documentary that Jay picked on
Tesla Knew the Secrets of the
YouTube,
Pyramids.
And it's called Tesla Knew the Secrets of the Pyramids. It's by this channel called Y or WF.
Yeah, they got some good stuff on his channel though. He's got some good stories.
He's not bad. But like I kind of was sitting there watching it and I'm going, there's so many fringe ideas and fringe theories that it just starts compounding. And a lot of the times when you get these guys that start talking about things like this, there's so many fringe theories to make this all work together that it's hard for you to justify it. Now, the ideas here are really cool. And the ideas about the pyramids and how old they actually are and what they were used for and all that stuff isn't new. But the relationship between that and Tesla also is interesting too. So we're both, tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist dudes, and we love this stuff. And I will commend Jay on picking it, but we will get right into it. The goldfish in this thing was so stupid because you're talking about all these fringe theories. And yeah, if you look at them and you paint them that way, you could say, whoa, this is crazy. But at the same time, when you throw in this guy talking about this stuff, and then all of a sudden there's this talking goldfish that he has conversations with him that's heckling him, and during the same time, it's like, dude, you're not helping your case. It's like that UFO documentary where they had all these.
I know. You have to look past sometimes the weird things to get the good information.
I guess maybe that's what he was trying for, but it definitely fell flat on its face. We continue with Tesla and the Secrets of the Pyramids next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The K. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 130. Jay's pick this week, Tesla Knew the Secrets of the Pyramids on YouTube, a free documentary. It's very short, 25 minutes. I actually watched it on my phone while my wife was playing Hogwarts, and very documentary. So let's get right into these theories. The first being that the pyramids were not actually used as a tomb or any kind of ceremonial thing. They were actually giant batteries, essentially power plants. And the science behind this isn't too out there. It's actually pretty interesting. And he basically makes the case that these pyramids were used as power plants to create wireless energy for free over the entire world. And the theory is that Tesla discovered this in the late 1800s, early 1900s. He was getting funding from JP Morgan. And JP Morgan's interest was that he wanted the wireless communication technology that Tesla was working on. And when Tesla got the money from Morgan, he's like, oh, no. We're going to go bigger than this, dude. We're going to go huge. I'm going to build this giant tower that will be able to broadcast wireless electricity for free across the world. It can work. And in his early testings of this, he could make certain things work. If you were on his grounds where these towers or the Tesla coils were probably light bulbs would work. So it was relatively safe for the most part. But then once he goes back to JP Morgan, he's like, hey man, I'm not doing this stuff. I'm going to do it this way. Morgan's like, whoa, hold on. If you do that, all the money I make and all the money my friends make in the power industry and everything that is needed to make that thing work,
he was going to cut into their money, man.
Will go away. And all my buddies and myself are going to be broke if you give this stuff away for free.
Somebody blew up his thing, burned it down. They raided his place.
There was some sabotage involved, but really what it came down to is that he needed a lot of money to make this thing work, and he couldn't get the funding because then after this conversation happens, JP Morgan goes to all the investors like, this guy's crazy. Yeah. Don't work with him. Blacklist him. Blacklist him. Well, after all these years, we go back and look at some of the stuff that Tesla was doing, and we're like, holy crap, this guy was.
Well, there's scientists now that are examining these theories and rebuilding things like this.
The other thing that's interesting and of note in that regard is that not a lot, but some of his research that he categorized and he's had at his death has gone missing.
Yeah,
a lot of it is cataloged, but there's stuff that's gone, and we don't know.
They raided his place.
Yeah, and it's really, and the fact that the FBI and the CIA were right there whenever he died, and then that stuff's gone.
Sketchy stuff, man.
Sketchy stuff. But again, it not only goes with JP Morgan, but it also goes with the United States government and the fact that we are still like the biggest consumers of energy, but also one of the biggest producers too at that time. So it would have completely changed the scope of the way the world worked and all this stuff if that had happened, but it would have been for the better for sure. Like at least in my opinion, I think it would have been a lot better of a situation.
Sure.
So one of those things is that it's sad when you look at this, what could have been, but the idea behind this is Tesla basically came across something that this guy believes there was an ancient civilization using before the pyramids.
A lot of people are believing
Egyptians
this now. Yeah, there's a lot of evidence that the world was super advanced, and then the world got destroyed basically, and then it had to restart again. Yeah, a comet attacks, and then you have to restart again. So it's very trippy, and there's a lot of research these days going into it.
And we'll get into that next. The meat and potatoes of this documentary continues. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 130 on 104.7 The Cave. Jay Stevens, Mike the Intern, back in the studio discussing Tesla knew the secrets of the ancient pyramids. So we talk about Tesla's part in this, and what it relates to the pyramids is extremely interesting. Okay, so we all know that at one point the pyramids were actually covered in this white gleam. It was just essentially, it was like this limestone that had been transported hundreds of miles away.
Yeah, they don't really know how they got them there.
What's the point of doing that?
Why they built them? Who built them? Yeah.
The point was that limestone acts as a conductor. Okay. So there was a reason why they brought it over. It wasn't just because of the sheen. It's essentially because it was useful. Now, the idea is if you look at the pyramids and you look at the chambers, there was no tombs in there. There was no markings. There's none of that stuff. And so they essentially think that this thing was used as a massive battery. Okay. The other things about the pyramids in itself is that they are so in tune with not only the natural reverberations of the earth, their position in relation to Orion's belt, and 13,000 years ago they would have been lined up correctly.
Yeah,
but that still
so crazy,
predates the Egyptians by a lot.
Oh yeah, they didn't know who built them.
They can't carve and date them, so they're relatively talking about how this thing came to play, but in reality, they make the claim that the Egyptians just found it. Yeah. They were like, hey,
these things were there, and they just started living around them. Right.
The Sphinx was then recarved to fit their needs, but it also had a different face at one point. They can prove that. But the idea essentially is real simple. I mean, you can get complex and you can talk about how they made this thing work as a power plant, but essentially one of the things against it is there's no mention of electricity by the Egyptians. There's no mention of any of this stuff by the Egyptians. So that would go back into with the idea that these were used by an ancient civilization that had figured it out, and they were doing wireless technology thousands of years before the Egyptians came and saw it and were like, holy crap, look at this. The gods must have built it. We need to build this stuff right here.
Yeah, it was already broken by that point from nobody around.
Very
weird stuff, man.
The science behind how this could have worked if it was used as a battery is pretty amazing. And if they actually had this technology to make wireless electricity useful across the world through these giant conductors in the middle of the desert, which at the time, 13,000 years ago, wasn't a desert. It's pretty amazing. And it's really interesting. But again, these are all fringe theories that get interrupted and rudely distracted by stupid goldfish.
You didn't like the goldfish.
No, man,
Mike wasn't a fan of the goldfish.
Because it would be like, you'd be going, oh my God, that's crazy. And then the goldfish
chimes in with the phony mouth.
Yeah, dude, it's so stupid.
I know. I don't know why the guy does that.
But it's really interesting stuff. And
he assembled a lot of interesting information. So I give the guy props for that.
And there are also have been recent experiments using limestone and stuff like that as conductors and how these things could work. And it's possible. And again, going back to Tesla, he tapped into that with the coil that he wanted to make on his property with that tower, which he ended up losing when he got foreclosed on because he had so much debt and he was broke and no one wanted to fund him. It's an unfortunate story. But the idea is essentially there was this ancient civilization over 13,000 years ago that were so advanced that they were able to get this pyramid put in a place that was north facing within 99% accuracy.
Right. And just the whole building, the way it's built, we can't build it today like that. It's like,
you would have to have laser technology to essentially build it within the accuracy that it is.
Very amazing stuff.
The sound reverberation stuff that they were in, because the natural chord of the earth is F sharp, which I think is awesome. It's the startup for your Mac or Windows chord. That thing is the tune to go. That stuff is really crazy that they were able to figure out. So again, if that's the case, this would go in line with like the Atlantis idea that there was an advanced civilization at one point in our history. Years ago, I heard that theory that human beings are a race of people with amnesia. So the idea is that this huge culture comes up, they create these awesome semiconductor power plants, they're super advanced,
Earth gets wiped out by a meteor shower.
Then essentially this huge solar event happens, and it's so crazy that if you weren't in a cave at this time, you would have been wiped out from radiation.
You start over with a small population, start again,
or the giant flood, because they basically claim that all this stuff happened over the course of 4 days. It was so strong that lightning was in the sky, these pulsing,
Well, twice a year we pass through that asteroid belt, and so twice a year Earth passed through this belt, and so they're saying that one of these times we didn't get so lucky and we just got pounded out with
everything gets wiped out. And going back to the
ice caps
to the pyramid, there's actually water erosion on the Sphinx. So something did happen. Now there are these great flood stories that are in the Sumerian or in the Bible. So it has happened. It's not the first time, or it wasn't the second time, but the idea that there was this advanced civilization that was here, over 13,000 years would change everything. But again, look how advanced we've come as a race
in just a few hundred years.
In a couple hundred years.
So if you had people around for 1,000 years, you could do some crazy stuff.
Couple thousand years,
another couple hundred years, I bet we'll be reading minds and stuff, man.
I mean, it's unless, of course, we get wiped out by a giant
another
flood,
one. Damn, we start over again. I think you and I will be gone by that point.
We'll see. I mean, it could be in our lifetime. We'll come back with our reviews. How many weird goldfish we give this documentary next. Dark Side of the Stream.
On the goldfish.
I hate that guy. We'll continue it next on 104.7. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens, back in the studio one more time. Dark Side of the Stream, discussing Tesla knew the secrets of the pyramids on YouTube. Again, it's free. It's 25 minutes. It's worth the time if you're sitting at your desk right now.
It's
watch it. It's cool.
Interesting. It's
really cool theories all in one place.
Good stuff.
Just try to ignore the stupid goldfish as much as you can. I would have given this probably a 4, but now I'm giving it a 2.5 because of that.
Because the goldfish. Yeah, I'm going to go 3 just because the goldfish
ruined it, dude. That's get rid of the goldfish. It doesn't help your case. and just say the facts. If you got to figure out a different way to do it, if you're even watching this thing.
That guy's channel, though, he's got a lot of.
He does a lot of good stuff, and he does a good job of kind of compiling it all together.
A lot of work he puts into it for sure.
Making sense of it. So yeah, it's not bad. But yeah, again, it's kind of like one of those things where you're just like,
goldfish, yeah.
So next week is my pick, and we're gonna do one on Hulu called The Lesson in Murder, and this is actually pretty cool. It's a 3-parter. At least at this point, there might be more episodes coming, but at least they have 3 at this point. We can just stick with the first 3, but they involve different killers, and in some cases, the first interview these killers have ever given. For example, the killer nurse Will Davis, who killed a lot of people as a nurse and would just put, kind of weird stuff in their bags and they die and couldn't explain it. And he would just do this over and over and over again. So she goes in as a profiler and we get kind of inside the mind of the killer. And it's been a while since we've done it. The documentary series is called The Lesson in Murder. And that will be the subject of our next Dark Side of the Stream, which always, Hulu. Stream it online, 1047thecave.com. For more, 104.7 The Cave app. Or watch us live on Facebook or YouTube every Thursday, 9 a.m., 6 p.m. I'm Mike the Intern.
Jay Stevens.
This is Jay Stevens reminding you we don't have a stupid goldfish in the studio.
We need one.
And we watch documentaries.
Someone send us a goldfish.
Don't do it. That's so stupid. It's Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave.